Okay, we're here with Jarrett. Jarrett looks after our tech inspect department. The final walkthroughs are very often done with Jarrett, and he supports the clients. We're talking today about the differences between chlorination systems. Mm-hmm. And my sense has always been that the salt chlorination system manufacturers have driven this idea that a salt pool is somehow significantly better. I think that many people don't realize that a salt pool is still making chlorine mm-hmm. versus buying chlorine and putting it in the pool. It's still, it is still chlorine. Mm-hmm. I think that many people experience a more pleasant pool, ownership experience because their skin may feel better. They don't have the peaks and valleys and such because they never run out. And we're not, this isn't a mattress, we're not buying a mattress, we don't have our sleep number, right? But we're kind of looking for our chlorinator number, right?
Yep.
How does that process work? How does a family figure out what their salt chlorinator number mm-hmm. should be? And why would it need to move or change throughout the season?
Okay. So you're going to have a learning curve no matter what kind of sanitization system you have, okay? Unless you hire somebody to take care of your pool for you, you gotta learn how to set this up. No matter if it's salt, inline chlorinator, automation system, they all have some initial work to be done. With a salt system, your biggest questions are how many people are swimming in the pool and how often, and the capability of your salt system.
And we refer to the number of people in the pool as bather load.
Bather load.
Okay.
Yep. And bather load is the number one variable. There are other variables like, do you have a power cover that's covering the pool 90% of the time so it doesn't get hit with sunlight so often, and weather to a certain extent. But bather load being the biggest one, all right? We give people a ballpark to start off with. Like we take in all these factors, and with our experience, we can get within a 30% range. So they're not dealing with, a big range, 0 to 100% is how a salt system works. Usually I can get them to within, a 30% range, but they still have to test their chlorine after that and tweak this thing until they find their number. Their number, there's just too many other factors, bather load related, for us to plug into some kind of formula and be like, okay, you're 62, this other family's 33 or something like
that. A lot of that is going to have to do, of course, with the size of the pool. Mm-hmm. It's going to have to do with how, frankly, dirty people are when they get in their pool.
Yep.
I will admit that it's not uncommon for me to mow the grass and work around the yard and then jump in the pool.
Right in.
And that's the worst thing that we can really do as pool owners, because we're putting all of these organics in the pool, all this dirt in the pool, and now chlorine has to kill all that. Yeah. And of course, being on, as a part of a pool company, I feel like I'm above that, right? So I just do it anyways. But that's a huge amount of load, and I got to make up chlorine to kill all that. The seasons change, mm-hmm. and we're now using our pool more in the summer, and we forgot that it was lower in the spring. Kids go back to school, right? And then next thing you know, we're not using the pool,
yep.
and they've got a high number. And for those that may not understand, when we're talking about a chlorinator number, a salt chlorinator number, it's similar to turning a knob on a chemical injector. It is just 0 to 100%. How much chlorine do you want your system to make?
Yep, and inline chlorinator, you have a knob, depending on the make of it, 0 to 5 or 0 to 10. That's really just an analog way of picking the number on a salt system. They're at the exact same as far as, what you're doing is you're choosing the capability of that sanitization system. You're dialing that potential up and down, right? So 0 is off, no chlorine, and none of our pools require, there's one that runs its their salt system at 100%, but they're a daycare, right? So
Sure.
that gives you a visual of the capability of the equipment that we sell. But yeah, you're really just choosing the variable of the potential of output from either the salt system or inline chlorinator. They all work the same.
In your opinion, why would a client who's thinking about putting a pool in, why would they choose salt versus choosing to do traditional chlorine on their installation?
If you have anyone in your family who is hypersensitive to high chlorine, right? So everyone who's swam a good deal will know that if you're in a pool and you open your eyes underwater with a pool that has super high chlorine, like above 5 all the time, you're gonna be leaving with red eye. All right, it gives you some eye irritation. But there are some people who are sensitive with their skin to it. So if they swim in anything over 3, they break out. All right, so your salt system.
And that's going to be typical in a chlorine pool, just because of the nature of the
peaks and
valleys.
Yep. So
a salt system, on the other hand,
you have more of a flat line. It's not completely a flat line, but it's way more controllable. You can dial it in with a couple seasons experience, right? You're gonna know, okay, beginning of the season we're here-ish, when the kids are out of school, using the pool every day, even then when the parents aren't there, we're gonna be here. Kids go back to school, fall, whatever, we dial it back down to here. You have less peaks and valleys.
oftentimes because you're not running out.
Right, because it's continuously making it as long as the pump's running.
So the old school kind of thinking of shock your pool every single week, and
Huge spike.
Most pool stores, that's just the stock answer.
Yeah.
It sounds like really that is in most cases the reason why there's too much chlorine in the pool in the first place, not the fact that it's chemical.
Right.
But it's the fact that those management techniques have been bad.
Yep.
One other aspect that I like to share with families is, we refer to how much hard stuff, metal and scale in water, we refer to that as TDS, or total dissolved solids. And I find myself 50-50 on a salt chlorinator. I can make the case either way. Sounds like you probably could too, with proper management. But with a well, I tend to steer away. And if they're topping up their pool regularly with well water, you can have a well that produces and outputs a lot of minerals and a lot of metals.
Yep.
Once that occurs, it kind of complicates the management. Is that right? Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so total dissolved solids, you end up getting into trouble when you breach like 5,000-ish.
And we're setting in many cases the salt system to 3,000.
3,000, yep. So if you have well water and you're constantly topping that thing off with, and even well water is highly variable, right? Some people have, you got good and then you have bads. But if you have bad, you're likely better off going with a inline chlorinator and using the pucks in that to manage your chlorine, just as far as long-term water health is concerned. So yeah, once you get high TDS, chemistry in general just becomes harder to manage. Highly volatile. You can't keep your pH in line, even though you're doing the same thing that you have been doing for years and years and years. And then you start to get minerals precipitating out, right?
Yep.
You've got this mystery white flaky stuff that starts happening everywhere. Color discoloration most of the time isn't your finish fading. Is stuff coming out of the water and sticking to the only place you can see it, which is the finish of your pool.
Well, and at that point it ends up getting on the skimmer, and it gets on the returns and other things.
Yeah.
I think that, at the end of the day, when we talk about a salt chlorinated pool versus a chemical chlorinated pool, There's this idea that it's going to be a return because you don't have to buy any chlorine. I haven't found that to be the case. I haven't seen an example, at least on a fiberglass pool, the way we put them together. I haven't seen an example where that investment of a couple $1,000 for a salt chlorination system saved that family in its life of the system a couple $1,000. In fact, in most cases, it doesn't eliminate maintenance; it just simply changes it. It ends up being, say, a pH minus purchase versus a chlorine purchase.
In salt system pools, you got to be on your toes with the pH minus. Chlorine pucks have very low pH change when you're dosing it with an inline chlorinator, diluting pucks. The chemistry that it takes to manufacture chlorine in that salt cell naturally drives your pH up. All right, so you're making your own chlorine, but like you said, one of the factors people don't consider is how much more pH minus you're having to put into your pool because of the side effects of manufacturing your own chlorine.
Interestingly enough, we had during COVID we had chlorine shortages, and then after that whole debacle, we had pH minus shortages.
Yeah,
so
because everybody switched to salt systems out of necessity, and that caused a higher demand on pH minus, and then it was hard to get a hold of that chemical. So.
Yep. Any questions, hit us with an email. We've got a link with a quick question tab, and we'd love to hear your feedback and answer anything you may have. Thanks.